from the heart of Europe, Wiesbaden, Germany, soon to be annexed by those wonderful, democracy-loving Russians. If the EU and the rest of the civilized planet doesn't play their cards right. Oh, that's an exaggeration. It's over the top. It's ridiculous. Could never happen. Not in the 21st century, anyway. What's happening, everybody? I'm broadcasting live, and here's what I plan to do today. I've got no plan other than I just feel like it. I haven't been on the air in a minute. Well, at least since Sunday. So I'm going to spin some tunes. I'm going to bitch about the world for as long as I feel necessary. And I plan to promote some of my friends' music and their stuff on SoundCloud. We play the best underground tracks on the earth. This is Inception, coming out of Oregon in the good old USA. Nobody's fault. That's what I plan to do. They probably used to hockey. Not doing it. This is In the Crease, Tommy C, the open format show that I can pretty much do whatever I want, whenever I want, and how I feel, simply because I can. And I have 100 subscribers on YouTube, and you can't stop me. Well, not yet, anyway. So, like I said, I'm going to promote some music and piss and moan about the world. Oh, did I get a little message over here? Let's see. Oh! Chris Tozovich. Chris Tozovich made me a big friggin' email on, let's see, check this out. Well, I just tell you what, I posted this. It seems like you can find this every week. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but I think I will. Yeah, I'm going to do politics. Politics is stuff that bothers me, I suppose. You can almost find a case of police brutality every week inside the United States and pretty much throughout the world. But the United States, I obviously focus on the most. Yes, I do live in Europe, but I do keep an eye on what goes in the States. Chris Tozovich just wrote me a letter, and I have no time to read this. I'm going to be on Skype. I'm going to tell him to call me on Skype, because I'd love to have Chris Tozovich here. It would be absolutely spectacular if I was going to piss and moan about the earth. But, I mean, you can find a situation where the cops have, gone well beyond their authority or abuse somebody. The most recent example I found was the one I just showed you there. I guess some mother slapped their daughter in a movie theater. And, when people think slap, it doesn't mean, it could be, hey, get in line. But parental rights been stripped basically since the late 1970s. And that caused the police to be called by some probably know what's good for everybody jerk, and the police ended up getting into it with this woman's husband, and they killed him. I'll give you the web address just so you know what I'm talking about. Chris Tozovich put something on there. I'm not really sure what it has anything to do with, but he's more than welcome to call me and explain. The videos here. Let's see if I get that shot back up here. Here we go. Let me get you the website. It is a biased libertarian website. From Monroe, Oklahoma. Was supposed to be a pleasant trip to the movies, ended in tragedy for an Oklahoma family. Police were called after a mother, Nair Rodriguez, slapped a daughter during an argument. As Miss Rodriguez left the theater, I'm assuming they're a movie theater, police violently confronted their husband, probably because they were over the top of their wife, and who was following her to the parking lot to calm her down. After Miss Rodriguez identified herself as the person who hit the daughter, police told them her husband was not involved in the dispute. 5 officers pinned down and shot pepper spray directly into his face. You know, you don't need pepper spray when you got the guy down. That's to see if he's being aggressive towards you, not when he can no longer be aggressive. You can find situations like this every single day. Every single day. Now, I don't got time to read Chris Tozovich's response, so he's coming online right now. Maybe, just maybe, I can get him. And my man's coming on right now. If you want to give us a call, here he is. Let's see. Can we get Chris Tozovich on the air? Is that possible? Hello, brother, you there? I didn't check my
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah. I didn't get I actually just went on the air as you posted that, so I didn't get a chance to look at it. You got video or what? I didn't get a chance to look at it, but I just went on the air because I felt like it, and well, basically I can. And
exactly.
Yeah, what do I care? Even the show sucks. It's not like I mean, you can't monetize videos anymore, so why don't I just go ahead and broadcast? Maybe somebody will hear it and get interested.
Yeah, I mean, you can write your own song and they'll flag you for copyright infringement on your own work.
Well, let me tell you something. I'm having the same problem Joe's having. I own the Shot from the Point theme song, and I lost apparently at somewhere along the line. I lost the rights to it, according to YouTube. I've also posted stuff that I did not monetize that got flagged. Or not flagged in the like where you get a strike, but let somebody else know that this is their property, and it was some Chinese company that flagged a junior hockey, a Canadian, the Calgary Hitmen. I'm sure you're familiar with them, being a wrestling guy.
Right.
Well, they do this teddy bear toss every year, and I posted a video because I thought it was cute. My daughter liked it. And some Chinese company claimed rights to it. Well, I know damn well they don't have rights to it. The OHL, or I think it's the OHL, or the Canadian Hockey League has rights to that, if anything. And I didn't even monetize it. So I actually wrote them back and I said, BS. This is not my property. It's not their property. And it took them about 30 days to get that straightened out.
That's stupid. It shouldn't take so long if this algorithm is supposed to be as speedy. I mean, if they can take things down so quickly, why can't they put them back up that quickly? You know, that's what's bullshit about it. Fine, if they want a blanket clause and flag everything, okay, so be it, I guess. Just if they think that's the way to handle it. But do it the reverse way when it's time to correct the problem. Do it just as quickly.
Can you put us on? I could put you on camera if you got a cam.
I'm outside right now, so it's pretty dark.
Oh, okay. Then stay out. It's okay. Okay. All right. I don't know if everybody wants to look at my face. That's when I'm so uncomfortable about doing that. Well, that's what it's my
mug either. So,
well, the great Joe Cronin called this. I guess because he's seen social media sites come and go. I think like things like Stickam and things of that nature. And he called this a while back that it's getting almost impossible to make money on YouTube. And I'm not terribly surprised that the most subscribed YouTuber on the internet is one Ray William Johnson. He just quit. Now that might have something to do with breaking into Hollywood, but maybe he can't get monetization.
The bubble is bursting. That's what's happening.
The bubble is bursting. But is it fair? Is it fair to say that YouTube just simply, or Google cannot simply handle all these copyright claims? And they're just protecting themselves from lawsuits. And if that's the case, maybe just scrap monetization altogether.
Yeah, it's strange that, I mean, the top earners on YouTube are the ones most vocal about how they're ready to leave and they're ready to give it up because they're not making any more money. Well, so if no one's benefiting from this system but Google, then like you said, why not either just do away with monetization or just have Google ads for Google itself, you know?
Sure. I could go with that. Look, it's a free service. I can't complain. I've gotten my voice out farther than I ever. Although I'm like as Jake Link says, we're in the beer leagues of hockey broadcasting, but I'm fine with that. And if that's the case, don't tease me. And don't. And another thing is, if you send enough of those requests in, they get rejected. You get a flag. I can't have that.
Yeah.
You know, I would rather be told I can't monetize.
You know, how are they getting these obscure songs in their database to begin with?
I don't look. I can play. Look, I got guys that send me their stuff on SoundCloud, and they go through a rigorous test with me. I listen to them and I see if I like them or not, and then I play their tunes on this show when I feel like it, and I'm constantly getting hit with you know. I mean, I know that it's their music. It's completely obscure. It's their stuff. They don't even have. They probably don't even have it copyrighted themselves. And I'm getting, you know, well, we don't know what this is, so you have to prove you have it. I can't prove a negative. It's impossible. So, I mean, it's the monetization thing. I've just about given up.
What do they want you to do? Do they want you to provide proof before you upload it? How can you even do that? It's not like there's a form you can fill out or anything.
Well, that's another thing too, because if they flag you or they check it out and they get around to it, I mean, you're not making any money the whole time that the video is being hit either.
You're guilty until proven innocent in this system.
Pretty much. And look, I understand. I'm not ridiculous here. I do realize that this company needs to protect themselves from lawsuits because they are responsible in a perverse way for what we post.
Well, shit rolls downhill, yeah. Whoever's yelling at YouTube, they're like, all right, well, fuck that.
I mean, I get that. But it's why I can't monetize, so I might as well just promote myself. You know,
but really though, they should make it easy to prove that you own things if they're going to come down on you when you don't. Because you know, like that should be part of uploading the video. Does this video contain any songs? If yes, please provide a description and your proof of ownership.
Well,
bam,
another
easy.
problem that they're not talking about, and I think a lot of YouTubers are not talking about, is like the software you use. Like there's a commercial version of this software, XSplit, that both me and Joe use. It does say that unless you buy the $60 version, you can't use this commercially. And then I also got a list, like, name the software that you use in this video. So if I use some kind of editing software, I somehow don't have the right to it, because I think what's happening is these smaller, I use extremely obscure software to edit my videos. I don't even know the name of it. I just got used to it, and I don't want to switch and learn something new. I guess they have a right to my videos. If I use a certain effect, they have a right to my videos. So, I mean, it's basically making it possible for me to make any money. I've never really made a dime on YouTube, unlike Joe. And I've had some videos actually hit, you know, over 100,000. So I'm just about ready to throw in the towel with that. It's just a terrible tease. And then I also get ones, well, we don't know this is copyrighted or not. You prove it. You know.
You know, I just realized something. All three of us are YouTubers, and all three of us are musicians. Why don't we just write our own songs and see if we get flagged for our own music? Because we could make a video about that, how YouTube flagged us for our own music, monetize it, and make money off of it.
That, sir, is a wonderful idea, and I wouldn't, you know, I bet I probably wouldn't. You probably wouldn't have a problem monetizing unless it took off. So I mean, if the video actually took off and then we got flagged for it, that would just be an. But I don't have the.
We can just write a theme song for each of our respective shows, and then if any of our videos take off, they'll have it. And then the money's going to be in the complaint video, where we make a video complaining and exposing that we got flagged for our own music that we wrote. Yeah. And if that video takes off, we game the system from within and make money off of the fact that they wouldn't let us make money.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's like this. I had not even heard of the whole the monetized thing until I think it was late 2012, and I didn't even engage in it until a few like just before the end of the new year. So I mean, it seemed like a really great idea, but what's happening now is like I mentioned, that Chinese company, they were making the money off of a product that I posted that I did not claim. That was really the property of somebody else. And I mean, I guess this algorithm, it's ID content is a failure because there's too many people claiming. They're going on there. They can submit claims, and they've lost control of it. And to be honest with you, I don't know if they care, because I don't think they want to pay dopes like us.
Yeah, they would much rather just put on their own advertisements. And I mean, the way they see it is, the content might suffer a little bit, But YouTube was doing just fine before they actually added the monetization.
Sure.
And people were still posting videos and becoming famous on YouTube just for the publicity itself. I mean, that was the reward at the time, the publicity, and reaching a mass audience that you couldn't normally do, using a service that everyone uses, something that's almost as popular as Facebook. So, I mean, when it comes down to it, you're right, where the only reason they threw us a bone is because they could afford it, not because they needed to do so to gain our business or anything.
Yeah. No, I'm about ready to throw in a towel, but I know this really hurts Joe because he was making a little coin, and it would have been nice, I guess, if he got to the point where he could, I don't know, pay you, and what have, yeah, right. I mean, not that he would. I'm sure he would.
He has. He's given me a couple bucks here and there. But,
I mean, I knew he would. I knew
it would have been a lot more for both of us though if we never got flagged in the first place because we were taken off.
Yeah, I know. Well, you're still taken off. And I actually think, I thought it was unreasonable. I didn't think he would hit 2,000 after WrestleMania, much less before WrestleMania. And I do think it's actually reasonable if you have a similar type, a SummerSlam explosion, which I happened to be up to watch, which was that was a great night. That's really my favorite night in all Joe Cronin show history.
That was the night for us. That was when we exploded and more like 3 people kind of tuned in.
Yeah. And then within a month, you guys were flagged. It's just, I think it's actually reasonable for you guys to hit 3,000 in one night if you have a similar type of explosion on the day of WrestleMania and what have you. I think that would be that would be great. And it's great for me too, because I don't know if you know this, but some of your fans are actually, I'm getting your sloppy seconds, and they're engaging in the show. They've
mentioned that on the show too, that they like Shot from the Point, and they I think Sam Crow. Sam Crow's a fan of yours, right?
Who's Sam Crow? Oh God, I'm so.
I don't know. I don't know his actual name.
Maybe
or anything,
his
but
online name's different. But let's be clear. I am so appreciative of the support I'm getting from Joe Cronin's fan, and not only that, I think I'm helping them out. Like, I had a guy from Wisconsin contact me. It's like, so what's going on with Wisconsin hockey? Is there anything out here? I'm interested. And I'm like, by the way, your state actually produces a decent amount of NHLers, and they're really more involved in the college hockey area. Here's what to check out. Your state has a really good history because most hockey players come from the 3Ms, as they call them, Michigan, Massachusetts, and Minnesota. But there are pockets, upstate New York, Wisconsin. There is a hockey scene in the Midwest, but it's very localized. It's one of the reasons we don't kill the Canadians every year in the Olympics is because hockey in the United States is it's Massachusetts, Minnesota, and Michigan. And other than that, it's just not that big. But those states, and Wisconsin's actually probably a close second. They would be like the Slovakia to a Canada in the hockey power world, if you want to make that kind of comparison. How are you doing personally?
I'm doing all right. I'm a little nervous about being a dad soon, but aside from that, everything's going fine.
Well, I decided to get married again, if you haven't noticed.
I saw that's awesome. Congratulations.
It's good stuff, and I'm actually
after so much shit talk about the institution of marriage, and there you go again.
Well, I haven't changed my opinion. I got to be honest with you. I haven't. I think marriage has been destroyed. There's nothing wrong with marriage. Don't get me wrong.
No.
And I'm not just saying that to be safe. I have been given absolute permission to speak my mind by my better half, and I think it has been ruined to a certain extent. And it's also interesting. The second marriage is, was it 2 out of 3? 3 out of 4 marriages fail between the ages of 18 and 35. But if you get your second marriage, has like a 70 or 80% chance of success rate.
Was you fucked up the first time?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't even think it's that. I think what happens is you get married, and this is both sides. I'm not picking on either sex. You get married, and then you have expectations, and look, everybody's a little self-entitled in a certain extent. I know I hit generational Y over the head with that a lot, but I mean, there is a certain amount of self-entitlement that needs to go on both sexes' side. And then you get married, and then you're ready for this big romance, this Disney type story, and you find out that it's ultimately at the end of the day a business arrangement. And to you, that cheapens the whole thing, and then all the other financial problems and the normal things that come in marriage hit you, and you're like, oh my God, this is terrible, I don't want to be here. But the problems you're having are absolutely normal, but you don't know enough to say, this is not something to throw my marriage away over, or just even get upset about, because this is what it's like to be married to a man or a woman. This is the financial realities of the day. So what happens is people get divorced. Because they just, you're not my everything after all. I mean, that's what happens. So, I mean, me and my fiance, we're very aware that this is a business arrangement, but we're very also lucky to be really into each other.
And it's more like a business partnership when you're both on the same page about it.
Yeah, and that doesn't I think women hear this especially. That doesn't downgrade our relationship. That doesn't make our relationship secondary. It just acknowledges the realities of the situation, and then we could be in love. I mean, it's just like anything. If you run any kind of business, right? Let's say you run a candy company, right? You have to bring in more money than you're putting out, but at the end of the day, you get a lot of candy. You know?
Yeah. And you better love candy if you're running a candy company.
Sure, why not? And you probably if you didn't, you'd probably running a really shitty candy store. So I mean, I think that, another thing is, my fiance's an accountant. She's a German accountant. She's very much into the numbers and, reality rather than any kind of fantasy.
Did she help you draft the prenup?
No, I didn't get one. But she said she would submit to one.
Yeah.
There may be a prenup involved, but I don't even know if I can afford a lawyer to get one. So,
well, if you don't have any money, then a prenup's not necessary.
No, that's not true. Somebody explained to me this a long time ago. If you don't get a prenup when you have nothing, that means you have no expectations. And I heard that on the radio in New York years ago. Doesn't that make a certain amount of sense?
To an extent, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just, it's marriage insurance is what it is.
It's exactly what it is. I didn't think of it. Say, we're just talking about business. I don't think a prenup's unreasonable.
I mean, you don't buy car insurance expecting to run your car off the road,
I guess, especially I think if you're even buying for entertainment, it doesn't even matter. Forget entertainment. I think if you're, especially if you're a young man, you have to do it. But I will be completely honest with you, and this has more to do with not the institution itself, but the marriage laws. I don't believe. And I'm going to sound like a hypocrite, but I mean, I've done it before. And I do believe my situation is a little different. Okay, let's be fair. I don't believe, as the law stands right now, anybody should get married. I mean, anybody. Men should be demanding that some of these marriage laws changes. You have situations in New Jersey right now where guys are being awarded, alimony is being awarded to working wives that are somewhat 100%. And, and these guys are being thrown in jail. What is that called? Debtor's prison or something like that? It's supposed to be unconstitutional. I bet you'd know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have situations like this. Like, go make money. Why am I in jail? What am I going to do? Sell cigarettes? You can't even smoke in jail anymore. And I
never understood that, where it's they threaten you with jail time how are you supposed to get them? They want the money. They don't want you in jail. That's costing them money. So what the fuck is the I mean, yes, it's the threat and it's the fear of going to jail maybe will motivate you to come up with the cash, but if you don't, then
when you go to jail, it's all over. And like I saw the situation, like, lawyers really can't even get too many speeding tickets before they could lose their license or lose their license to practice law. Like I saw a situation years ago where a guy, they ordered 200% of his salary to his wife. And of course he couldn't come up with it. So they took his kids away. And they eventually threw him in jail. So guess what? That's a felony. He can no longer practice law. So they brought these social workers in. This is while he's in jail. They brought these social workers in to this guy. I mean, he was a very typical white, rich guy that went to college and did what mom and dad told him and got married and had two beautiful kids. And the social workers are asking him, like, are you sure you can't do this? Or you can't? Like, they have no idea about the realities of being a convicted felon. So he explains the situation to them. I might be able to get back in the legal part, but I have to go through all these legal loopholes, and I have to spend money to defend myself and say this is an extenuating circumstance. And they're like, well, we'll take this offer to your wife. It's not a fucking offer. It's not a fucking offer. Guys, don't get married. And not because it's a bad idea.
Well, unless you're marrying a guy, then go for it, because you don't know how much longer you'll be able to do that.
I mean, how much longer is that gonna? Gay marriage is coming, and we all know it. I really, who's gonna get fucked in that deal? Is the guy or the girl who makes more money?
Well, I mean, although it is rare, it's not unheard of, and it's not even that rare. It's just less common. Where if you have a full-time working woman and a stay-at-home deadbeat dad,
yeah,
the woman's gonna get everything, and the dad's gonna get absolutely nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
You know.
You know what? It's another thing that's funny when guys get divorced. I can't go into any details, but I have apparently all the marriages that happened around the time I joined the Army now are 10 years old. My basic training day would be 10 years this October. And I missed a lot of my buddies' marriages when I left, because I actually joined the Army late when I was 28. From what I understand, most of these marriages that happened in 2004 and 5 are now collapsing. And it's really funny. But the funniest thing I hear is, oh, I got a lawyer now. He told me this. I can't. She can't do that shit. But guess fucking what? You just entered a meat grinder system. The lawyers always tell the males, like, hey, don't worry, I'll get you off. And then when she screws you, when the lawyers know that it's coming, they're just collecting your money. They know you're going to lose because you're a male. They say, I don't know how this is travesty. I don't know how they could do this. And then you start yelling at him, and then he fires you. Like I got fired over here. So you are screwed. There is no way around it.
Well,
and really, the only
what do you think, though? Because you can't also justify a system where you say to a woman, hey, you don't have to work anymore because I'm making $200,000 a year. Everything's going to be fine. You don't have to go to college, especially when you get married young at like 21.
Sure.
You don't have to go to college. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. And then all of a sudden down the line, you end up, cheating on her, and you're like, oh, well, looks like the marriage is falling apart. See you later, honey. And then she's 28 with no vocation. I mean,
I know something, but here's the thing. I think that's the exception, not the rule. And of course, I would 100% agree with you. I know somebody that happened to. I'm very close with a British woman that happened to. She raised three kids. And three real smart, four real smart kids. The youngest one is about your age, and her husband was very, very rich. She comes from a very her father was a spy for the English army. I mean, they were in the upper crust of British society, and so she naturally, I mean, she's a beautiful woman when she was young, an absolute knockout, and she basically became a housewife for this very, very rich man, and they built one. And he up in the late 80s, he just up and said goodbye. Now, she got a decent alimony payment, but that's not what's happening. You're getting guys like me I made $30,000 a year when I was in the Army. I mean, with and that's on top of benefits and everything. And they take my net. That's really not enough to live in your own, unless you are in the Army, because you get all like free rent and things of that nature.
Right. Exactly.
And they're looking at it as a whole. It's like, okay, you got to pay this, but wait a minute. As soon as I leave the Army, I can't make that kind of money, at least for the meantime. I don't care.
Right.
Maybe you shouldn't see your kids then. I mean, this is.
So what is the solution? What's the happy medium here?
I think this is going to sound outrageous. I think what happens is. And women have to back them up. And I do think women will back them up, because these guys that are getting screwed are your uncles, they're your brothers, they're your fathers. There has to be a movement, not unlike the late 60s, the women's movement, which was then legitimate and is far, the pendulum is far switched the other way. And I think we need to have a men's movement supported by women that have seen their brothers, their fathers, their uncle, their sons just completely torn by this system, and start marching. And I know that sounds outrageous, because that's not something normally men would do. Men's rights, yippee yay! It sounds like something very misogynistic. But we've come to that point, and until that point, we cannot be making babies. Because, by the way, if you make a baby, you might as well be married. There's no forget it.
It's the same thing. Yeah. When it comes down to if you guys ever split up, it's going to court.
You might get in fact, that's probably the only way you'll get a clean divorce. At least in Europe. Europe, it's totally clean. No kids, you're good. But after the kids get involved, I mean, you're dealing with social services that are completely rigged against you. I mean, this is a problem in Australia. This is a problem in Canada. It's a problem here in Germany. So it is time to, you can't get married. And you're going to have to march. You guys got to stop getting married. And I don't know if that's possible. Well, it's
once again, though, I mean, that's a good start, but what are you shooting for? Don't get married until the marriage laws change to what? Or the divorce laws change to what?
Well, I will say this. How about this? There are some good things about divorce laws in Germany that have come about recently. Capped percentages of salary that can be taken.
Okay.
Future earnings cannot be touched. Things of that nature. So we have a capped amount in Germany. You have to, by law, be given enough money to live, to pay your bills. In Germany, they can't come and take my computer as restitution for not paying child support because I can't apply for a job. They can't take my television. They can't take my computer. Things of that nature, and what have you. My wife was ordered 120% of my salary. And they came in. To take stuff at my house. And I was It was horrible. Well, I knew they couldn't take anything. 'Cause here's the thing: when I lived in Army housing, my wife was able legally, in a loophole in the Army law, to just clean me out when I wasn't there. Take things that I owned, take things that I bought, and just clean me out.
So that was going to be my question. Was it Repo Man or was it a sheriff and
it was like a government bureaucrat came over and wrote down things that I had. And so, but the thing is, my wife
could you just not let that person in your house?
Yeah, and then what he does is he gets a warrant and I'm arrested.
Okay.
Yeah. But the thing is that the funny thing was I was cleaned out because if you're command sponsored, in other words, you have a wife in the military, they can take things out of your house as long as nobody comes in your house. So what she would do is she would hand objects to her friends, and I could do nothing about it. I had the MPs over there and everything. So when they were ordered, when they essentially gave them 120% of my salary, and by the way, it was 120% of the salary that I made when I was in the military, not when I was trying to struggle to be when I was trying to struggle, like with the movie theater, with the reserves, and going to school with 9/11 GI Bill. Okay, so when they came over here to basically take my stuff, they looked around and nothing had any value. And I go, I have an American Xbox. Would you like that? Just to be a wise ass. And the guy looked at me and he just walked out.
Yeah, what do they want from you?
There was nothing of value. She claimed that I had all this stuff. She was saying that I had stuff that she already took. So I mean, if the marriage laws are this confusing, and this is not just a problem in Germany, the only difference is in Germany they cannot lock you up. Even if you're a deadbeat bad, you cannot be locked up. I think that's got to go away because look, you can't make a guy. I mean, you can garnish his salary legally, and after you garnish whatever he's making, he's got to have enough to live, and then so be it. Actually, when I get a job here in Germany, my salary would be immediately garnished. And I don't care because they can only take a certain amount.
Right.
Yeah, so I still have to get enough to pay. So they'll take 50 euros, and as I make more, they'll take more. So whatever. That's kid tax. That's the way I see it. Maybe a system like that. But in the States, they can garnish more than you can live with. They have
which is just what do they want from you at that point? Do they want to just drive you into government services that's going to cost them more money? Because that's what's going to happen.
Honestly, I think so. I think that's the case. I do think they want that. Or I do think this is I think this is punishment. I think we're going to punish these people. Interesting enough.
But it's how is it punishment when you end up saying, "Oh, I have to be on welfare, food stamps, and Medicaid because I divorced."
I guess you could look at it that way. I mean, it'd be punishment for somebody like me. I have never paid it. I've never actually taken any kind of government money in my life until I was forced to. It was German money too, and I'm not even a German taxpayer. They basically took every dime I made from Iraq, and they put me on free legal service. So I apply. I show them that. By the way, my wife took all my money. I need a guy to defend myself from taking any more that might come in the future. And they sign the paperwork and they pay my lawyer. So it's like socialized legal services they have over there. But you can only do it if you're broke. And what have you. So I'm already on the doll. I don't even pay any tax money into this. and what have you, but it's simply the only way I can defend myself. And I didn't, here's the best part. I didn't even apply for it. My lawyer he goes, you have to sign this or I can't work for you. And you can't buy another lawyer anyway. Don't get married. You can't get married. Not until we have to organize. And I'm telling you, women, this could happen to your kid. You know, I was somebody's little boy one time. I was somebody's everything. And your son could end up in a very short period of time, end up in the same sense. This is not just a woman hate issue. I want to make that very clear. This is unfair laws that have switched the pendulum. As Chris Tozovich just mentioned, there was a time when women didn't work and they married into these families. They married guys that supported them completely, and the guys were like, you know what, I want to bang somebody else, and I'm out of here. Yes, but there's already protections for that.
Yeah.
There's not protections for the situations that we just explained. I want to move on. How long can you hang out with me?
I'm here for a while.
Good. My other beef lately. I consider myself formally a. Oh, did I freeze on YouTube? No, good. I consider myself a formally avid supporter of local police departments, and I've just been disgusted of late from what I see coming out of the States almost daily.
Well, you know, the sad thing is, or I don't know if it's the sad thing, but the true thing is that I don't think it's getting worse, and these police officers are all of a sudden this plague is going around where you have these corrupt cops who are overstepping their bounds, coming out of nowhere. I think what happened is a lot of people got video cameras in their pockets at all times. So now you're seeing it. I think that's the only difference.
You know what, though? You know what? You could be 100% right, but let me kind of run this by you. When I was a kid, do you remember the Rodney King incident?
Yeah. Well, I don't remember.
There was a situation where cameras were starting to grow during that time. And that video was actually selectively edited and broadcast over and over by major media networks. So you don't see the part where Rodney takes a swing at a black female cop.
Well, not just that, but I mean, like, to be fair, I'm glad that happened. Well, not glad that happened, but I'm glad the backlash from that happened because it did change a lot of things, and it did make police officers think twice before they did something, not knowing who was looking over their shoulder. Yeah, that being said, Rodney King's a piece of shit.
Yeah, he's dead now. I mean, but me too. But the actual, it was the wrong incident. It's like everything in life. You like, I always hear about these guys that they're like professional criminals and they never get caught in anything, and the final thing they go in jail is something they actually didn't do. I don't think the cops are wrong in that situation, and that's one of the reasons they were let go of criminal charges. This guy took a swing at a female cop, and they lost it, and he was not going down. And then the only part of the video you see is when he is down for the count. The cops were finishing their check, and that did bring the attention. But going back to what you're saying before, and people having more videos, I don't even think that's the problem. I think, and this is
not the problem. Really, I think that's the answer as to why it seems like there's more of it happening now.
Yeah, I could, that very well could. I'm sure that's definitely a part of it. But I think, and this is from the left, and this is where I actually agree with them on certain things. We were warned that this was going on in minority neighborhoods. And I think what's happened, and the cameras are a part of this, is this has left the ghetto, and it is now in middle-class America.
Right.
And because I tell you something, these police brutality incidents, they're not all black men. They're not all minorities. They are white. I've read about a Marine being shot to death who had a legal concealed permit by a cop. Because he wanted, put down your gun. I don't have my gun in my hand. It's holstered. Bang, 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 bang.
There was a story of a guy with an airsoft gun target practicing in his backyard, and he got shot.
He was a soldier.
Yeah.
He was a soldier. He was practicing an airsoft gun. Some of that has to do with what happened in Connecticut a year ago, and it gets into a guns rights issue that I don't want to touch. And the paranoia that's been created by in recent years, and the cops are naturally afraid. But it's not just guns. I mean, you can find an incident like this incident that I started to read before you came on the air, constantly, almost on a weekly basis. You're actually starting to see it. I have a friend who lives in Dublin. He says the cops are just out of control in Dublin. And this is, like I said, it's moved out of the ghetto. We were warned. We had incidents like Rodney King, which were kind of gray areas, and I was like, "This is bullshit." The Rodney King thing was bullshit. I thought the LA riots were bullshit. I thought it was media generated, but through selective editing. But there was a problem there. But I think a lot of people like myself ignored it because we looked at the Rodney King incident, and there's a lot more to the Rodney King incident than has been let on. I never saw Rodney King as a victim. Never.
Well, plus after that incident, didn't he blow all his money he got from the settlement and then like beat his wife or something like that?
Yeah, and then he fell.
He ended up in jail in the long run. I'm pretty sure.
Sure. I mean, Rodney was like, I don't think Rodney was a bad guy. Like he's like one of my fuck up friends. I never thought he was like a horrible human being. He's just like one of my friends that has like a heroin problem. He's a good guy, but he's got a heroin problem, you know, which leads you into the police's arms. But the first thing he did, he wasn't a very bright man. The first thing he invested in a record company. There's no better way to throw your money away than it is through entertainment, you know. So he blew a bunch of money there, and he had a little money. Apparently, a little scratch when he died, and he fell in a pool after he was stoned. So, you know, the money awarded to him didn't really help. It didn't really help. Didn't fix the situation either. But I find these things almost daily, and I think you're right about the camera thing. Is there anything else you put in your what you wrote back to me?
I was mostly writing that in these situations when you said you prefaced the incident with "Don't talk to the cops" or "I'm never talk to the cops."
I'm not talking to
the
cops anymore.
And I said, this guy not talking to the cops is technically what got him killed when it comes down to it. Because the story was he wouldn't show his ID. And they said he was being bad of that, I think, is bullshit. But I can see the guy, no, I'm not giving you my ID. No, fuck off. Or whatever.
Well,
and
I would have given my ID.
The fact of the matter is, you gotta play the game. And granted, what I wrote was the right thing to do when a cop asks you for your ID. Like, for instance, I was stopped walking back from 7-Eleven after buying a Slim Jim at like 3 a.m. And the officer said, "Oh, there's been some robberies in the area around this time. Do you mind if I see? Well, not do you mind if I see your ID? I'm gonna have to check your identification." And I said, "Okay, here you go, sir." And then he handed it back, and I was like, "Is that all?" And he was like, "Yep." And I was like, "All right, have a good night." And the right thing to say in that situation is, "Am I under arrest? Am I being detained? Then fuck you." But you don't. But you can't say that because they outnumber you, they outgun you, they're immune to most laws that you and I have to follow. So when it comes down to it, sometimes it's better to inconvenience yourself for a few minutes rather than stand up for your rights and get beaten within an inch of your life and give this guy a paid vacation because you wanted to stand up for your rights. That, yes, they're important rights to stand up for, but literally in that moment, does taking your ID out of your pocket and handing it to the police officer really inconvenience you to the point where you want to risk this guy going nuthouse on you?
Yeah.
You know?
Going absolutely berserk. Well, another
but
thing
you do have to know your rights, and if it gets beyond that, when it goes from an inconvenience to you're feeling uncomfortable and threatened, that's when you repeat your rights over and over again. And if they still try to give you guff or it looks like they're trying to trap you into something, that's when you say, "Am I under arrest? If I am, take me to jail, and I'll handle this in court. If not, I'm going to go home now."
Well, you know what I've done in the past is not like, "Am I under arrest?" Because it's because I'll say, "Please arrest me. Arrest me right now," and I'll just repeat myself. "Please arrest me. Arrest me. Arrest me. Arrest me. Arrest me. Arrest me. I want to."
Because then you can shut up and then you can lawyer up after that. As soon as they arrest you, you don't have to say a goddamn word.
It's like if I say "Please arrest me," it's not like you're not challenging their fucking intellect or their authority. It's like don't say, "Am I under arrest?" Because that's like, I know my rights. Most people that say that don't anyway. Just say, "Arrest me. Go ahead. Bring it." Well, I don't want to arrest you, and I don't have to now. Then this conversation's over. Mm-hmm. You know, this conversation's over. Arrest me or not. You have every right to arrest me and what have you. And you do got to play the game. And you're absolutely right. And I don't know what the laws are like over in Oklahoma. Maybe he did have to show his ID. So
yeah. Or maybe because someone called the cops, he needed to identify a suspect.
Sure. So that was stupid. But then again, we get into the area.
He shouldn't have been killed for it.
He should have been killed.
Granted, I'm not. Yeah.
It's insane. I mean, it's absolutely nuts. He shouldn't have been killed.
Right.
You know, there's the issue.
But it's not about being afraid of the cops to the point where you have to, give up your mild rights and show them your ID if you think you don't have to. It's about being the better man in a certain situation.
Sure.
An example I gave was when I walk by aggressive panhandlers who are yelling, like demanding change from me, basically. Mm-hmm. I could go over and read them the riot act and start yelling about
that'd be dumb.
Yelling about harassment laws and tell them they're breaking the law and threaten to call or I could just ignore them or flip them a quarter. And what's better to do? What's going to eat up less of your time and create less conflict?
Sure.
Ignore them or flip them a quarter. You're not gonna. It's well within your rights to go up to them and say, "Hey, you are harassing me. That is against the law." But you're not going to do that. You don't need to stand up for your rights at all times. Because yes, maybe back when this was a new country and we were breaking away from England, that was important because we had to establish things. But your rights are protected. And unless they're actually violating you to the point where you literally feel violated, which you shouldn't if they're asking for an ID or just asking a few questions or just being a dickhead cop and telling you to get out of an area that you have every right to be in, but you're literally about to leave anyway. Like I've seen people who are quote unquote loitering, but they're on public property and they're about to leave and a cop says you can't be here and they stay there because they feel they have the right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. But when I say, another thing is, let me be clear here. When I say don't talk to cops, if you don't want to talk to the cops about something, and you better be morally on solid ground when I say this, and I want to bring these, like if you witness a rape, I saw somebody pace counting in front of a pub I went to that was Middle Eastern over here. I told the cops that I was like, look, I have experience with this stuff. I said, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not trying to come off like a racist, but this is what I saw at A, B, and C. This is your information. I'm not giving you any more than that because I don't know. And for all I know, the guy was drunk, but he looked like he was pace counting to me. And I do have a military background, but that does not say I'm not wrong. But it looks suspicious, and I just want to give you guys that information. I would report a rape, of course. I would definitely talk to them and them. But if it's something stupid, like, did you see, and they're just really trying to talk to you, did you see this happen? Did you see that happen? I'm not going to say, I don't want to talk to you because I have the right now. I'm saying, I'm sorry, man. I don't know. I play dumb. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Here's the way I see it. It's almost like the golden rule, where granted, all right, I guess I can't say, like, if I committed a murder, obviously I wouldn't want to get caught. But should I get caught? Probably. Yeah. But we'll take it down to misdemeanors here, where if I commit misdemeanors all the goddamn time, as do most people. And guess what? I would like to get away with them, and I wouldn't want my neighbor being a nosy neighbor and calling the cops on me. So if I witness a misdemeanor, I'm not going to... I don't give a shit about telling the cops about anything that I see. Because it's a misdemeanor, and it's something that I myself could do, or maybe not that exact act, depending on what it is, but one with equal ramifications, and I wouldn't want someone, dropping a dime on me.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, see, well, that's us being from the East Coast. That's what that's talking right there.
No, everyone, no matter what state you live in, you speed on occasion, you don't want your neighbor with a radar gun calling the cops.
I got to be honest with you, though. I mean, I got exposed to a lot of other parts of the country. They don't all look at it like we do. Like, I don't snitch on somebody for. I met so many snitches in the Army. I mean, because I noticed like guys in Los Angeles, they're even worse than we are in California with the whole snitching thing, and. Because it could get you killed,
Yeah, for us it was you'll get your ass kicked. There, you'll get shot.
For me, when I think of not snitching, I think about the guy that like kicked the locker really hard and ran away and started laughing. I'm not snitching on him, and it just kind of followed me through adulthood. I'll give you a quick example. When I was in basic training, we had a black guy who was French that didn't speak English in my platoon, right? So there was some tissue box on the ground, and he actually flipped. He did that like soccer back kick, or he flipped it up in the air, and I giggled. And then I got this guy from Florida coming up to me. He looks at me, he goes, "Callanan, integrity, Callanan, integrity." And I said, "I'm gonna show you my utmost integrity. I didn't kick it." "Well, who did?" And I just looked at him like, "Yeah, sure." And he says, "That's the problem with people like you." From the East Coast, because he had a problem with Northeasterners. Right. He goes, you have no integrity. And I said, no. And I just didn't say anything. I kept doing my locker. I said, no, I'm not a bitch snitch like you. That's stupid. Why? Another thing is we're in the Army, stupid. If the fucking drill sergeant finds out about that, we might have to clean the whole fucking place, you idiot.
Right.
He'll get punished. I'll get punished in you. And you can feel like you have a lot of fucking integrity over a goof.
You're right about the East Coast, though. I mean, I grew up in a city that was literally 10 minutes away from South Boston, which is Whitey Bulger town. Yeah, so you did not snitch in that area, and that carried through. I mean, the two good things, or I don't know about good, but the two memorable things about Whitey Bulger that left an impact on Southie is you don't snitch, and you don't do heroin.
Yeah,
he successfully completely stomped out heroin in that entire area.
Really? You know
for
what
a while.
it is?
It's definitely creeping back now, but for a while, I mean, just if you junkies were looked at like absolute human scum. More, I mean, they are kind of throughout the country, which is wrong, and another whole point I'll get into later. But in South Boston, especially, if you got caught selling heroin, you would get your ass kicked by the person who's selling coke.
Well, there is some upsides of Whitey Bulger writing things. That's one of them. The downside is opening a business in Southie. You know, that would be one of them. The great, well, I would say the infamous Irish, he is really the last major Irish gangster too, unless you know something I don't. There's no Irish.
Well, at least in America, I don't know about Ireland.
Well, there's plenty of Irish gangs, but I mean, it is. Let me ask you something, and don't snitch. Is there still any active Irish gangs inside of South Boston right now?
Not that I know of. There probably, I mean, there might be something small, but I mean, nothing makes the news. No one talks about it. I mean, it's not a threat or a thing you hear every day. It's
the last major...
There might be a couple people playing cowboys and Indians, thinking that they are. But
yeah. Listen to too much Slain and House of Pain and. Right. and next thing you know, they're holding up the 7-Eleven. Hey, listen, can you come back in about 10 minutes? I want to play some songs. Do you want to talk about the Ukraine a little bit? Because I'd really love to get into that.
Sure.
Yeah. So I am going to play some music. This is from Evan Bartels, straight out of Nebraska, one of my favorite new underground musicians. And then, you're going to listen to my band after that. And I would hope that you come back and listen to her talk about the Ukraine. I'm here with Chris Dodgevich. See ya.
Roll me a cigarette. We can sit here and forget and smoke till there's nothing left but a filter with no flame. And you can hide your eyes, but I recall your face. Reminds me of when I still believed in grace. But that's not to say that I won't believe again. Can you feel the wind coming east from the plains, singing Colorado like a sweet summer rain? Eldorado, I'll never be home again. I never felt more alive than when you held me in your hands. Hey there, little child, why do you cry? The big old world came and taught you all its lies, that it's dangerous, dangerous to fall down through the cracks. Well, you don't need to blame every day of your life. You don't need to know the better way you'll die. That's dangerous, dangerous, and it doesn't really matter at all. Can you feel the wind coming east from the plains, singing Colorado like a sweet summer rain? Eldorado, I'll never be home again. I never felt more alive than when you held me in your hands.
Welcome back to In the Crease with Tommy C. You were listening Evan Bartles out of Nebraska, and of course my old band, because, well, I may not get flagged if I actually play it, but I certainly couldn't monetize it. Warp Drive, Bliss and I, which is my favorite tune that I never got to work on, so what have you. Hey, Chris, you there?
I'm here.
Oh, wow. God, your timing is spectacular. Hey, did you listen to any... by the way, we are having broadcasting problems for reasons that I think it's actually a problem with YouTube, and actually not with me like it normally is, because I am not getting any system performance problems. But apparently our broadcast dipped in and out, and I'm not losing any frames according to my statistics here, or whatever the hell they call it. But yeah, a lot of our conversation was dipped out on. Even some of Evan Bartles' song was dipped out on, and what have you. Did you listen to any of it, by the way?
I did. I liked it. I
like Evan. I'm not going to sit there and promote. I mean, that was recorded almost 10 years ago, the last. But I really, Evan's got new music. He's a musician out of Nebraska. He's actually working with a guy I used to serve with, and I think the guy's just a mega talent. And I hope he gets a record contract one day. But I think I told them, please don't flag me from a video that I made a year ago once you start making $1 million. You know, that was my biggest concern. I want to talk about the Ukraine. This is where me and you might actually get into a little disagreement, which is healthy. And I want to talk about the situation. And I also I do want to play a video that I have queued here. And I don't just want to bash Obama, although I do think there's sort of an indirect responsibility in what happened there. I actually also want to defend Obama, or at least some of the criticisms of him, I wouldn't say are unfair, but they're a little unreasonable considering the situation. So I want to do both things. The first thing I want to play, this is actually funny, and by no means am I defending or supporting Mitt Romney when I play this video, but I'm definitely supporting his statement during the last election. I didn't vote for Mitt Romney, and because I couldn't stomach it. Because of the type of guy that I thought he was. So I did what a lot of libertarians did. I stayed home, which is probably a lot of the reasons Obama got reelected by a hair's ass. But this was an interesting question. And both Sarah Palin and Mitt Romney said that Russia is a potential enemy down the road. And it was only a few years after they actually invaded Georgia. In 2007 or 8, which I can't remember, which nobody cared about either, by the way. But this was a question posed to Ed Carney, his press secretary, who I actually am starting to feel sorry for, because there's just no way you can do this. But this is absolutely funny. I'm going to play it right now.
The president was dismissive when Mitt Romney in the last campaign said Russia was our #1 geopolitical foe. Any regrets about that?
Mm-hmm. No, because, again, this... You have a situation where Russia is violating international law because a country that Moscow, a government that Moscow supported, was rejected by the vast majority of the Ukrainian people.
What's that got to do with Mitt Romney? What Mitt Romney said?
And because they wanted to determine their own future, because they wanted to be able to make the decision as to their integration with Europe. They didn't want to be dictated to by an outside state or an outside authority. I think it's hardly a demonstration of, it's not a positive thing for Russia that Ukraine has been moving in this direction. Our whole point is it doesn't have to be a negative thing. It is a mistake, certainly in the long run, for Russia not to accept the fact that Ukraine can, and the Ukrainian people should be able to decide for themselves in a democratic manner how they will integrate with Europe, and that doing so does not mean they cannot maintain their long historical and cultural ties and economic ties to Russia. They can.
I mean, look, politicians not answering comfortable questions and dodging it. It's like you ask them one question and they answer a question you didn't answer is not unusual. But I just found it hysterical. I mean, he was at a loss for words, an absolute loss for words.
He started filibustering at the end. It almost sounded like he felt if he talked for long enough, they'd forget what the original question was to begin with.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened. And I wouldn't even say it was masterful, because the question he actually answered, does Russia have a right to invade Ukraine? But nobody asked that question. It was like, where does he said no, and he went on, and I got to be honest with you, it's difficult. It's difficult for this administration to deal with that, and it's very difficult for Carney basically has to lie, because it was a legitimate campaign issue. It did come into it was a legitimate questioning of Obama and his foreign policy, that this could eventually lead his sort of shutting down in 2009. One of the first acts that Barack Obama did under his administration was actually shut down the missile field in Poland and the Czech Republic, saying that George Bush had uncomfortable relations with Russia in the past, mostly because of the invasion of Georgia in 2008. And this was a way to kind of smooth over. No, it didn't smooth anything over. In fact, it left Europe defenseless. So, and then you have it basically, this was the original reaction that I'm going to play now. And now this is not an official reaction of the Obama administration, but it was the official administration of the left. The title of the video is called Romney's Latest Gaffe. Mitt calls Russia our #1 geopolitical enemy, which is basically the question that was posed to Jay Carney. Let's see how a bunch of leftists on MSNBC handle this.
We're back. It was a moment Mitt Romney probably thought he could use to his advantage. The president caught on an open mic telling Russian President Dmitry Medvedev to give him space on missile defense. But once again, Romney stepped on his own message. Cynthia Tucker is a Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist and professor at the University of Georgia, and Sam Stein covers politics for the Huffington Post. Here it is. Here's Romney yesterday on CNN trying to capitalize on the president's remarks. Let's watch.
If he's planning on doing more and suggest to Russia
great hair.
That he has things he's willing to do with them, he's not willing to tell the American people. This is to Russia. This is, without question, our #1 geopolitical foe. They fight every cause for the world's worst actors.
Cynthia, I don't know what decade this guy's living. It sounds like, if not 72, 52 even. It's not Stalin over there. It's not Khrushchev. It's not Brezhnev.
It's not the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Medvedev, chatting with him as another country in the world that's no longer the Soviet Union. Is he trying to play Ronald Reagan here or what? What's he up to?
This is Mitt Romney's severely conservative problem. He struggles so hard to be persuasive, to make a case against Obama, that he always ends up jumping the shark, saying something that is completely off key and not credible. It's no great surprise that he was going to try to take advantage of this to criticize President Obama. He was hoping, no doubt, that this would have the same effect against President Obama that his aide's message of calling Mitt Romney the Etch-a-Sketch candidate would had on him. But it didn't work. It made Romney look dumb. He's not a dumb man, but he said something that was clearly dumb.
Well, that's argumentative on your part, Cynthia. He's not dumb, because I tell you, Sam, I don't know Medvedev. We've got mixed views of these guys, but he seems so sophisticated and witty about his response. I mean, he just said, this is an ideological cliche from decades ago. This isn't, as he put it, it's not the mid-1970s anymore.
Georgia.
This is the 21st century, Mr. Romney.
Yeah, but, it does provide a window into how Mitt Romney looks at some of the, geopolitical problems that we face. He's always opted for a more hawkish, militant stance, whether it's beefing up our presence in the Mediterranean, whether it's beefing up our defense budget, armament. Across the board, it's always opt towards more militancy. The fact that he declared Russia the preeminent geopolitical problem that the United States faces in the world is an antiquated worldview, but it's not something that's been hidden from Romney's policy platform. He's articulated stuff like this in the past.
Because he was right. And the invasion of the Ukraine, and it is very clearly an invasion of Ukraine, approved Mitt Romney and Sarah Palin right. And, it wasn't, he wasn't saying that the Soviets are going to take over Europe. What he was saying is these guys are propping up, and they ended up propping up places like Syria. They prop up, not Argentina, Hugo Chavez. Chris, help me out.
What?
Yeah, sorry, not Argentina. Oh my God! I just had a brain fart. They're having a big riot down there too, and I cannot think of the damn country right now. Oh, I'm losing my fucking mind. Well, anyway, getting back to what I was talking about, Russia has propped up Iran, Syria, who's committing genocide, even using chemical weapons on people and things of that nature. And when this was proposed, obviously, folks that support Obama laughed at it, and it turned out to be 100% true.
Right.
What do you think about what you just heard?
I have to admit, you're exactly right. Where, like you said, and plus that was right out. I mean, the leftist rhetoric coming from that thing you just played was kind of ridiculous. Especially when you said it was right after Georgia too. It's like, what? Were they even paying attention? Like, did they even know what was going on when they said that?
Well, it is MSNBC. I mean, let's be fair. I mean, Fox wants Republican presidents. MSNBC wants Democratic presidents. In fairness to, I always hear this bias thing out of Fox News, which I actually think is ridiculous. What they do is they have more conservative, right-leaning pundits, as MSNBC does. That's not necessarily bias. If you say, look, this part of the broadcast is an editorial, and I give both passes for both news organizations, then it's an editorial. If you're top of the bottom of the news broadcast, the ones at the top and the bottom of the hour are biased, that's a different complaint. But if you're going to put on Bill O'Reilly, you're going to get Bill O'Reilly's opinion. Bill O'Reilly has he has a right. He has a duty to be fair, but he doesn't have a duty to not give his opinion or equal time or anything of that nature. So in fairness, I'm defending them on this. I don't think this was deliberately biased. I think it just shows. It gives you an insight on the way the left sees the world and Europe. Yeah. And this was an opportunity to make Romney seem like some sort of old man or grandpa that's still stuck in the mid-1980s. But there had been incidents with Vladimir Putin, not to mention the fact that Medvedev at the time was basically because Putin's term limits had run out. So he was actually just placed in there until they could change their constitution so Putin could eventually become what he is now, a permanent dictator. So right. Medvedev is he's a propagandist. He recently said in defense of the people who supposedly rose up in Crimea that Ukraine did not properly use their constitution and impeach the former leader of Ukraine, who was chased out and now under Russian protection. Yes, they did. They did impeach him. They did. They had a parliamentary vote inside Kiev, and they impeached him. So we're now at this stage where we're just. But
when you control the media, then you can kind of make up history as you'd like.
Yeah, sure. And this is nothing new. It's been done before, and I'm not gonna just blame the left in this situation. The left, in my opinion, and most of Europe, is in total denial about what happened last week. We have a leader who's saying that there are native-speaking people in another country, therefore he has a right to it. And he's also saying that it was, even though he's sending his own troops, he was saying that this was just kind of sort of a grassroots movement that came out of nowhere in Crimea. Doesn't that sound familiar? I mean, look, a lot of people like to compare things to Hitler, or everybody to Hitler, and it does get ridiculous after a while. But this is probably the clearest comparison you can ever say. I'm not talking about politicians calling each other Hitler. I'm talking about calling Vladimir Putin, who just invaded another country, Hitler.
Right.
And I fear that, and I think what's happening.
And the motivations obviously are vastly different, but you're right.
Sure. But at the end of the day, it's like my old man says, all wars are about money. And this is no different. I was told my girlfriend who has businesses, her company has businesses inside of Russia. They're thinking about pulling them out. Well, should I say that? Maybe I shouldn't have said that. They're concerned. I take that back. They're concerned. Well, nobody knows my girlfriend's company is anyway.
Redacted.
Redacted. They're concerned because just before Stoshi, it was inflation was at 15%, and she was telling me about an actual collapse of the ruble. By the end of Stoshi, it was 18%. They need money.
Yeah, and
Bad.
Sevastopol will get them that money.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if I wanted to raid someplace, I'd raid the United States. They got the money. But
well, yeah, but I mean, this is something that they're already using anyway, and if they can stop renting it and own it, I mean, that's money.
Sure. So I think this is a real danger, and I don't think they're taking it very seriously in Europe. I think what Obama's doing is damage control because of the statements that I just made. But I think this is this is what happened in the Ukraine is not a left and right issue. This was a group of people that didn't want a puppet government of Russia, and they rejected and they threw this guy out. They damn near killed him. Too bad they didn't. And now Putin looked bad, so he's going to basically just take the country that he thinks he should have had in the first place. He was happy with the puppet government, but if he can't have the puppet government, he's simply going to take it, and he has the means to do it. This has caused almost no panic in here in Europe, considering its history, because Europeans are painfully don't learn history until it's knocking on their door, raping their wife. Yeah, and where I'm going to defend Obama is he immediately talked about sanctions and things of that nature. And the Europeans who are condemning Putin want, like Italy, they want to postpone preparations for the G8 summit. Not the G8 summit, the preparations. England has proposed no sanction. Germany almost can't because they're held completely by the balls by Putin because we get most of our energy from Russia.
Yeah.
And so this guy, I mean, we're in a situation right now that if he just wants Ukraine, the rest of Europe is safe. It only comes down to how far this dictator wants to go.
Right, and that's the scary thing.
He can move his army, because there's another. With you have an inflation like that, and it is true, all armies move in their belly. And if you don't have the logistics to move them from A to B, you will lose.
You don't want to set a precedent in his mind either.
I think we already have.
Yeah.
I think.
But this would put it over the edge. This would be the feather in his cap.
Sure. So when he invades Kiev, which I predict in 2 months, in 2 months' time, what they're doing is, from what I can see from my very little army perspective, he's setting what's called up a forward operating base inside of Crimea. Crimea they do have a lot of Russian-speaking people, a lot of Russian nationals inside there, so he's safe there, and he took it over without firing a shot. This will be a building station for an eventual invasion of Kiev. I think that'll happen in 2 months. Now, it just really comes down to, because unfortunately for the Ukrainian people, Ukraine is lost, unless for somehow they can repel the Russian army, which is just a tall order. Kiev has been completely lost. So we are in a position, how far has he taken this?
Yeah.
That's where we are. And where I could defend Obama, he talked about sanctions right away. And he's not getting the support from his surrender monkey allies. The West looks weaker than it ever has. And one of the reasons it's looked weak is because the worldview, which I just played you with the MSNBC clip with Chris Matthews, has been, these guys are not a problem. And that's what it's come down to. So does he want to go to Berlin? Does he want to go to the Czech Republic? Does he want to go to Poland? Who knows? Will the straw that breaks the camel's back be when he actually invades a NATO country, which, by the way, Kiev was considered for? Or is he just keeping Kiev from becoming a NATO country or a European Union country because it's just a little too close to his border? That's the other argument.
The other thing that you got to bring up about the left and why Obama's not getting the support is, I mean, one of the biggest things was the failure to find any WMDs by his predecessor.
You can make the argument, and I wouldn't disagree with this, that. You could make the argument that the lack of success in Iraq has also weakened the West
right.
inside of I do believe that while I don't think Iraq was a total failure, it may end up being that because of some of the situations that you're seeing right now. But yeah, you can make the case that there are missteps, and even Afghanistan for that matter, which this has become a forgotten war. It's the new Korea. That our lack of advances has helped that along. But you can also make the case that bringing down the missile shield, the apology tour that Obama did in the Middle East, which only ended up to being the Arab Spring, the drawing the red line in the sand for Syria, that was crossed and nothing was done. So yes, there is a weakening of power in the United States and influence in the United States. And yes, you could definitely blame both parties in the past two leaders. The problem I'm seeing is just the denial, and this is not a left or right issue. This is the denial of this actually being a problem to begin with. We are now, the most powerful man on earth is no longer Barack Obama. It is Vladimir Putin, a ruthless dictator, and that's what they should start calling him, because that's exactly what he is, a ruthless dictator that was reportedly an absolute killer while he was working for the KGB. He knows exactly what he's doing. He sees the way they look at European politics as being weak, the West as being weak. This is the time to move. And when John Kerry says things like, you're playing by 19th century rules, Jesus Christ. Are you kidding me? Do you believe? Do you have a war that end all wars mentality post-World War I? You don't believe that we live in a world where something like that could happen again, where there could be a third European war, a world war? Do you really, I mean, like, and all you can come up with is...
It's like looking at Walmart, and when Walmart first opened and first started populating the United States, and sitting there thinking, oh, well, my mom and pop shop will be fine, whatever. Like, no, they're a ruthless company that's going to go out there and put you out of business, and they have the means to do it. And, I mean, all countries are businesses right now, more than ever. And if you have someone with that Walmart mentality where, oh, well, business is business, so I'm going to take what I need to take, I mean, how can you deny that? How can you not see that?
Yeah, I guess I was hoping you might have disagreed with me a little bit on this, but
I don't.
I don't. You don't. I mean, I find it, I mean, look, I mean, a lot of people think I'm reactionary, but I just, you really think they'll come to Germany? First of all, I don't know that. I don't think anybody knows that, but nobody saw this coming. And I think once he invades Kiev, he's going to be, and if he does take it without a shot or very little resistance, you get a guy like him and he says, you know what? Why not Georgia next? Why not just keep moving?
Right.
He has publicly stated that the worst thing that ever happened, and he's not a Marxist, by the way, Putin. He's not. He's more of a nationalist than anything else. The worst thing that ever happened to the world was the breakup of the Soviet Union. I mean, he's stated this publicly on several occasions. Maybe that's to rally the left in his country. I don't know. Yeah. But, I mean, what is stopping him from moving? Nothing. Yeah. Nothing. And the West has let them know. They all pointed fingers in the air. They all sat there and cried. He also embarrassed Merkel. I don't know if you knew this. During the the original Ukraine crisis, before Crimea was invaded, he cut an open talks deal with. We're going to have open talks with Germany about this situation. And Merkel was real happy. Look, I'm going to talk to old Vladimir. We're going to get this whole thing settable. And then he invades. Yeah. So I mean, you're not. So we're not at the point. We're really at the point. We're at the World War II point of England just handed over the Czech Republic to Germany. We're not at the point in 1938 when they actually invade Poland. And not only that, our military is being stripped, and I'm watching it happen while I'm over here. We don't have the means to defend ourselves. The only country in Europe that actually could possibly defend its own borders is the United Kingdom. The Bundeswehr in Germany is not, and this is not a secret, this is not just me being critical of their military spending. They are a humanitarian group. They are not geared to defend its borders. We no longer have 100,000 troops like when I came to Germany, and they're trying to get it down to about 20,000 troops here in Germany. And yet we have this serious threat that actually, I'm starting to forget about Al-Qaeda. I mean, we have this very serious threat with a third world country with a first world army moving west. And where Europe's in a state of denial and Obama's in a state of embarrassment trying to do damage control about his foreign policy. This is a perfect storm just before the anniversary of World War I. The 100th
That's a good way to put it, a perfect storm.
This is a perfect shitstorm. I think... that Vladimir Putin sizes people up very, very quickly. I think he sized up Obama very, very quickly, and I think he smells. I think this is a power move. It just depends on how much he's willing to go, and I think the only thing that'll stop him in the end is economics. Can he move his army like he wants to? by being able to get logistical support. Right now,
even factoring in the backlash he may face as well, if he can factor that in and still walk out ahead, he's going to make that decision, or he's capable of making that decision, I should say.
Well, I mean, the only thing we're seeing from, I guess whatever I can take from Jane Carney's statement, which was just made no sense to me, is they're telling Russia, you made a bad move, you made a mistake, this is bad for everybody. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's actually quite frightening. It's not actually bad at all. And that's where I stand. And I was hoping to get more resistance from you on this. So, what are your personal feelings on what happened in the last couple of days?
Pretty much, like I said, all countries are businesses, and this is a business move. But when you look at the actual ramifications of it, it's a ruthless business move. And like you said, where does it go from there? Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I know a guy over here was screaming bloody murder about having the Olympics inside of Russia because of Russia's stance on gay rights, or the lack of them. Aren't you worried about Ukrainian gays right now? And this is like, well, we shouldn't get involved. This is an issue. This is an uprising within. They didn't like what happened in Ukraine. It was a coup. Wait a minute. Aren't you concerned about those type of feelings towards homosexuals coming to Kiev? No, because that's not politically convenient. You will drop gays. You will drop women. You will look the other way, as long as it doesn't make Obama look bad. Because to say that we have a problem here, we probably should start building up troops, you have to change your whole worldview. Right now, the solution to this problem is reintroduce the missile shield, and we should be having training immediately with Poland and military training with Poland and the Czech Republic. Notice I'm saying don't send troops into Ukraine. I think it's already lost. Although that would be a ballsy move. I mean, send the troops to Ukraine and say, "Come get it, motherfucker."
That would, but that would what's the word I'm looking for? That would light the fuse.
That might light the fuse, but if we look at it this way, look at, I think it was Ukraine, 1937. If England had sent troops to the Czech Republic, or if they could have, I mean, that's I don't know if they even could have. Maybe navally they could have. Before they just ended up handing it over to them, which wasn't even theirs to hand over to. It wasn't even a colony. The fuse would have been lit either in the Czech Republic or in Poland. So we can look back with 2020 vision. Had Neville Chamberlain stood up right there and then, and just bring it on now, rather than let Adolf Hitler take a big chunk of Europe, some of it without firing a shot, taking Northern Africa, which lost many, many more lives down the road.
Right, but once again, you have to figure out, is this the same situation or not? And yeah, you could say all day up and down that
you're not going to know.
Look at what happened before, and we're gonna assume that that's going to happen now. But if you assume that and you light that fuse, for all we know, that he's going to stop at the Ukraine, and he's going to get the poor he wants, and he's going to turn a profit, and that's that.
Then that's that.
And everyone's gonna forget about it. No one's gonna give a shit. No. I mean, this is his plan. No one's gonna give a shit. Everyone's gonna leave him alone, and the buck could stop there. And if the buck was going to stop there, is it worth lighting the fuse?
Well, you know what? It's a hindsight thing. We know now, because we allowed Hitler to take all those countries, that it was a bad idea. But we'll never know it was a bad idea.
Compare all day up and down, but Putin is not Hitler.
Do we know that? Are we sure?
That's exactly it. We're not sure, and once again, you're not going to light a fuse unless you know.
Okay, so let's take Vladimir Putin, former KGB, propped up Syria, even though he used chemical weapons.
He's terrible. I'm not.
No. I'm not. This is more an argument. I just want to. These things should be taken into consideration to find out maybe this guy does have those kind of aspirations. This wasn't a criticism of you. We know what he's done. We know he's invaded Ukraine. He's been aggressive towards other European countries in the past. Is it reasonable to believe that this could be it? I called this. I don't want to pat myself on the back, and I didn't have a YouTube show. In 2008, I said this is a test run. I have been. I've said that the euro, the failure of the euro, the failure of the European Union, is just a perfect storm for the next European war. because as one country tanks, I said this in 2000, like a Greece, it's going to eat up the other economies if you have a single base currency. And you've seen that over here. And when you weaken a country economically, like Germany was weakened after the First World War, it breeds Putins. I don't believe that Adolf Hitler was a result of Germans being innately brutal and wicked. I think it was a result of a horrible economy. And I think if you look at most dictators in Southeast Asia, Ho Chi Minh, the Khmer Rouge, these are the results of horrible, horrible economies that prop up maniacs. Because when you have nothing, you're more willing to listen to a maniac.
But once again, there's that fine line between genius and maniac. And Putin, I mean, you got to hand it to him. He's not a dumb guy.
No,
and neither was Hitler.
No, I don't think Hitler was a dumb guy either. And you're not allowed to say that. But he took over half of Europe without firing a shot.
Yeah,
as sick, as disgusting, and as immoral that is, it's still a fact. You know, and this is the beginning. I don't know. But I tell you something. I don't think Obama's going to run joint operations with the Ukraine. I don't think there's going to be a buildup in Germany. I don't think they're going to work with Poland. I don't think they're going to introduce their weapon shield. And if that doesn't happen and he moves on, it's 100%. You can forget Bush. That's on him.
Yeah.
That is 100% on him. Because that means he did nothing. Now, if he did, I'm not stupid enough to believe if he took a hard-line stance on Syria or did some other things that this wouldn't happen. But I do believe it's a fair criticism to say the way you have positioned the United States military, the way you positioned your foreign policy, which is essentially this was a giant misunderstanding because the last president was such an idiot. Talk to me, I'm a good guy, I want to hear. All wars are really created by these just mass misunderstandings. And if we just got down and talked, then none of these things would have happened. Bullshit.
It was great for his platform, though, you have to admit.
What's that? What's that?
I said it was great for his platform, though. You have to admit, it looked great on paper, didn't it?
Sure, it's
everyone who voted for him.
You know who I criticize for this type of thinking? Christians. This do unto others as they would do unto you. Turning the other cheek. Now, I was raised in that ideology, and I think at a local level it sort of works. Sometimes,
or even let he who is without sin cast the first stone.
Yeah, I mean, I think this thing that's ingrained in American culture and in some aspects. There's a lot of Christianity inside Marxism, if you ask me. I think this thing that's ingrained. It doesn't lead to what if you're dealing with a psychopath,
right?
You know, if me and you have a disagreement, which we have, we're both rational people, and I can say, hey, look. Chris, I'm really sorry I said that. I mean, it was over the line. I still disagree with you. I would say, and then you know what, Tommy, don't worry about it. It's just Facebook or something like that. Not that like anything like that's ever happened.
I could drive to the airport, get on a plane,
shoot me in the
fly
face.
over there, and slit your throat. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I said, this kind of thinking looks. But this is his foreign policy. This is foreign policy. Look, the Republicans are horrible people. Oh, look what they did. Look what they did. Oh, look at me. Look at me, I'm a nice friggin' guy.
It was 2 steps forward and 3 steps back for our military when it should have just stayed where it was.
What,
Bush was 2 steps forward, where it was 2 steps in the. Maybe it should have been 1 step forward, obviously post 9/11, but 2 steps forward, I'll say, which was too much. And then Obama backs it up 3 steps to where we're weaker than we were in the first place.
Well, I
viewed as weaker.
Sure, viewed as weaker. I don't know that we aren't. Which I don't know if you know this, but they're chasing guys out of the military left and right.
Yeah.
Anything. You're overweight. You get caught pissing outside a bar. I mean, they're just finding every single way to get rid of these guys. Well, all the fatties are gone. Let me tell you. There's a lot of chunky monkeys during the war, but there's you go on post in 2012. There's little chunky monkeys. Everybody in the army is skinny as a nail now. It was literally happened overnight. I mean, as soon as we left Iraq in 2011, it was just like skinny. And I can see it because I work at a military base. It's like, holy shit, that was quick. Because in the past, what they did is if you were overweight or failing a PT test, but you were not a shitbag, you were going to work, doing your job and what have you, yeah, they kept you because they're going to need you for deployment.
Right.
I had a freaking leaving Ukraine for a second. I had a guy. He was a clothing and sales salesman in 2005 over here, and he was a Korean War vet. He had basically been back and forth and ended up living in Germany since 1946, since the beginning of Reconstruction. And he told me, and this is the height of the war. I mean, this was Iraq was steaming and basically falling apart, and Afghanistan was starting to get hot again because there had been a lull for a few years. And he told me, he says, do you like what you do? And I said, yeah, I actually really love what I do. I honestly can't wait to get over there. And he says, make sure you stay in shape. He's like, yeah, I know to say. He's like, no, after it's over. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I know guys after Korea that had silver stars that were chaptered for being slightly overweight. They got silver stars in Korea. And I'm like, you're kidding me. It's like, because they're going to cut. They always do. The Army and our government is proactive. They're not reactive. They don't prepare for the next Hitler. They just say, hey, we beat him, and then we go home. He goes, and that will happen in this war. Those are his words for word. And he goes, make sure when this ends, you stay skinny if you want to keep this job. Right? Wow. And I looked at him. I was like, maybe that's a little extreme. Well, it's exactly what happened.
He called it, yeah. He hit the nail on the head.
Because he knew the Army from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. This is a guy that was in Vietnam. This guy was in Vietnam, Korea, and he was here during Reconstruction.
So the patterns were clear as day to him.
Well, there's also some other things we can make. The Britain prior to World War I was in a sort of a drawdown mode to show the world that they were in peace, that they were peaceful, and the Germans took advantage of it when the Austrian Hungarian Empire got in a little fight with Serbia. Which turned out to be probably the most brutal war, where 1/3 of French men were killed in this continent's history. You also saw a bit of a drawdown from the United States prior to World War II, and Europe and Germany took advantage of it again. We are seeing a current drawdown. Military has been cut left and essentially, what's happened here in Europe since the end of the Second World War is they cut their military spending, right? And they say, look at us. This is a new world, a world of peace where we don't need a giant military. And they knowing damn well that they had 200,000 troops in Germany at all times, where they don't need a European. It's the same thing the Canadians have done. They don't need a military because we can't allow anybody to invade Canada. And that's essentially what's happened. So they basically get a tax-free military over here.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best way to put it. Yeah.
We're drawing down. We look weak for both administrations. I'm not gonna just. If you notice, I have not cast the blame, and you're probably impressed by this, I hope, completely on Obama. There's a lot more factors. It would be too simple to say that Obama is completely responsible. He's in charge right now, and he's made mistakes and added to the problem. So we have a drawdown, and then we got a potential Hitler on our hands. Not Osama bin Laden, a guy with the first world military.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think we hit everything on
Putin's not gonna throw rocks. That's for sure.
No. I mean, because I think that's a part of it too, because he knows, and Obama knows, and Obama knows he knows, and he knows Obama knows that if he moves too close, they're gonna shoot. And Obama can't have that. First of all, it alienates a part of his base that actually believe that all conflicts are just a misunderstanding, which they are not. Which is really just a
danger. A lot of people still thinking that, though. A lot of people.
Oh, God. I mean, you're a more liberal guy than me. Why don't you think that way? I mean, most liberal guys, I would say you're a liberal, but you're more liberal than I am. I mean, is it because you grew up near Boston or Southie that that's bullshit?
I mean, I'm on the fence about it when it comes down to, like, put it this way, I didn't join the Army. I had every opportunity to. I mean, sure. I was a fuck up for a little bit. It really probably would have saved my ass. But
if you're a fuck up, go ahead.
Well, that's what you do when you're a fuck up and you have no vocation. It's you join the Army.
I don't want to say everybody does that.
No. I'm not saying that those are the only people who join the Army, but it's a great option for those people.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And I was one of
those. I'm not saying. Only fuck ups join the Army. No, but if you're a fuck up, hey, the Army's there for you.
Yeah, it is, and it's actually a really nice option to have. And you get government benefits, and you earn them because you're going to work. So I mean, I don't really have a problem with that, even though I have a problem with
in Russia. Aren't you obligated to be in the military for a certain period of time?
Yeah. So what happens is so let's say you sign on for 2 years. You got to do 4, but like 3 of those, 2 of those will be in the reserves, which is like cake.
Okay.
Unless you get sent to Iraq, which the reserves were. People laugh at the reserves because they weren't used not much for Vietnam. That was not the case in Iraq. The reserves were used quite frequently, and they became quite battle hardened after 2004. You had guys going 2-3 tours that were working at Best Buy.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you really don't say bad stuff about the reserves. It's not a way to get out of a military service. It's when you join the reserves, you very well may have to fight and die. Don't consider. And the problem with the reserves is they had a reserves mentality going into Iraq and Afghanistan. And a lot of guys died with that mentality. They showing up a little overweight, just firing a gun once a month and what have you. No, these guys became very battle-hardened very, very quickly. The reserves is no joke. It's no joke. It might seem that way, but let me tell you something. When you're called for active, it is just like being in the active army, yesterday.
It's not the National Guard.
No. Even then, they were used too. So the National Guard essentially has become the reserves, at least in recent years, and what have you. So you join. Look, you go to Army basic training when you join the reserves. You go to Army basic training. You are a soldier. You're just literally a reserve. You might be pulled off the bench. And in a situation like a build-up after a 9/11, get ready because we don't have a draft anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way they use it. How? I mean, I remember John Kerry called, this is a backdoor draft. No, they're soldiers. They joined.
Right.
I always thought it was an insulting comment.
It doesn't matter what you expect. You sign on knowing full well what you're in for if shit hits the fan. That's part of that's why you get paid.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say so much. That's not why you get paid the big bucks, but that's why you get paid, and you get housing and all these other great perks, and the GI Bill, number one.
GI Bill's amazing. It's amazing. It's a wonderful gift from the taxpayer that soldiers probably don't take advantage of as well as they should. Now I can actually pass what's left of my GI Bill to my daughter if I want to. And how nice is that?
That's great.
That's how nice is that. And that was also a bipartisan. That was passed bipartisan and it was got through. But I often wonder if I shouldn't just go spend the rest of my GI Bill because with their continuing debt raising, I wonder how much longer these benefits can last. I think we covered everything. I was hoping to get a little more resistance from you because I know you don't like over criticism of Obama, but you do tolerate it.
I don't like. All right, here's the deal. My biggest thing I always say about pretty much every political issue in this country is you can't counteract propaganda with propaganda in the other direction. It just that's not what you do. And that's what happens where Obama fucks up, yes, but then it's blood in the water. And then all of a sudden he's torn apart and people start saying things that aren't true and making up lies or exaggerating the truth. There's enough bad things to say about Obama where you don't need to stretch the truth, especially at this point. If someone's just going to stick to the issues, that's great. But when they start stretching it out like Laffy Taffy, that's when it's like, okay, come on now.
But the thing is, you're absolutely correct. But the thing is, I get this feeling with Obama is that's every single president since I've been alive. Every single one. And it just seems like with Obama, in my opinion, in my humble, for some bizarre reason, it's like, oh my God, look what happens. Look, this is really unfair. Well, I've seen tons of stuff like that. I don't know why it's any different with him. I don't know. This has been going on look, as soon as the revolution was over, politicians started clipping themselves, running for office, trying to be president, trying to become a senator or representative. It immediately happened. It is a part of being part of a democratic society. Now, I think it's up to media to point out this is bullshit and this is not. That's really up to the private person to point out. But it's nothing new with Obama. This is nothing new.
I think one of the bigger problems
any more smashed than anyone else.
One of the bigger problems in the past 8 years is, even when Bush was in office, the internet was around and it was a household thing and everyone had a computer.
Clinton
but
as well.
Not everyone was using it for anything. you didn't have grandmothers using the internet for anything more than checking their email and maybe forwarding a few funny pictures to their grandson, and that's
now
it.
We have social media.
But,
we didn't have back
then. Yeah, now they have access to and know how to use multiple news sources. They can find biased news sources if they'd like. They can find a nice circle jerk to settle in with, or they can go out and find alternate sources and compare and contrast them. There's so many facts out there that you can fact check. And there's a website, factcheck.org, and they literally, when a politician says something, they'll say true or false and put up it's basically Snopes for politicians. So, I mean, and it's called factcheck.org. Anyone can type that in. That's not difficult to find. And it has all the information right there with sources and links. And if something's undecided, they'll say undecided. So when you have this, and this is in the past 8 years where this, I mean, I don't even think that website existed 8 years ago, for example. And now that all these people have access to all this information, that's when I think people start getting angry saying, okay, yes, this has happened with every other president, but there was an excuse for it because, I mean, a lot of people, especially like when Clinton was in office, they watched their local news and that's it. That's it. That's all. Therefore, their word was law at that point. Whatever your local newscaster said, oh, that's how the world is. But now that you can actually go out and find out for yourself without having to rely on the whim of whoever's on your TV screen at that current time, there's no excuse for it. And that's why I think people like myself get more up in arms about it now, where it's like, okay, all you have to do is type into Google, is this true? And you'll know the answer. So stop fucking saying it if it's not. There's no excuse anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, does everybody have the, you're right. I'm not going to say you're wrong, but does everybody have the obligation to I mean, I think maybe me and you do because we're
If you vote, you should. If you vote, you should fucking know what you're voting for and why and when and how and where.
But I mean, look, I have and I've apologized for it. I see those memes. I'm like, holy shit. And I don't post memes as much, political memes as much as I used to because I got burned on them a few times. And I just, rather than just deleting it, I said, by the way, this is bullshit. And here's the Snopes article. Here's the what have you.
Yeah,
look, not everybody is.
I'm sorry for being the person to burn you on occasion on a couple of those.
I don't think you burned me once. What are you talking about? I didn't post many memes since we've been friends. That was a year or two ago.
Was it? Okay, maybe it wasn't anything political.
No, it wasn't
maybe
me.
It was just
you
something
just
I was like,
disagree
hey,
with
this
what
isn't
I said.
true. Here's a Snopes article.
No,
but the point is, whoever did burn you, or when you found out, oh my god, this wasn't true, and I got all up in arms about it in public. That's a good thing. That's you realizing, oh shit, I got to check my facts so I don't look like an idiot.
If everyone
said I got to check my facts so I don't look like an idiot in front of my friends.
I actually remember what it was. It was something. This goes on. Now I laugh at it, but I have to admit I was burned by it. It was oh god, who's the black actor with the great voice? What's his name?
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman. There's tons of quotes attributed to Morgan Freeman that he never ever said, and I got burned on one of those because it was written in such a manner. Morgan Freeman is not like an out and out leftist, and there's people on the right that just love to hear a black man say something sort of either center or on the right, and he has said stuff like that before. Morgan Freeman has disavowed Black History Month. I don't know if you know that. He said that in 60 Minutes.
That is
very
interesting.
I'm not going to get into that. He just said I think it's ridiculous. It's like having Jewish History Month or Irish History Month. It's American history. It's about America. And blacks are Americans, which I totally agree with, by the way. So I did that, and then another guy came on there. He wasn't outraged. I got away pretty clean. And he said, this is incorrect. Here's the Snopes article, and I went on there. Thanks for calling me out on my bullshit. That was my exact words.
Right, and that's how I feel too. If I post anything that's wrong, or if I'm very, very misinformed when I say something, I want someone to call me out, and everyone should do that for each other, not at each other. I use the term for each other because it's how we all learn.
I would agree, and don't get angry. It's not a big deal. Look, and
if someone's gonna be a dick about it, you can be like, "Thanks, you didn't have to be a dick about it."
Gotcha, motherfucker. You're wrong about everything because you're wrong on this issue.
Might as well delete your Facebook because it's full of lies and bullshit.
It does go back to what you're saying before. It's so easy to click share and not think.
Exactly.
And what have you. There's been
clicking share is just using the mouse. If you want to go to Google and type in the question, you have to use some keys. And
well, I gotta be honest
more
with
people
you.
click share than going to Google and find out if it's true or not. Like my favorite one right now.
Yeah.
This is way off topic, but it's a great example of misinformation. Have you seen the Back to the Future meme where it says, "This is the day that Marty went back to the future"?
Yeah, but that one's old. That's been going on for 3-4 years now.
Yeah, actually, what went forward in the future is when it was Back to the Future 2.
When is the actual date, by the way?
It is I think 2015.
Oh wow, it is close.
Because it was 85, the first movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he went exactly 20 years. I mean, 30 years in the future.
Uh-huh.
So there you go. That's all you have to look at. And then the date is, I think it's in August. I don't know. I'm just gonna shitty meme if I put the wrong date. So look it up for yourselves, listeners. Just look up the date that Marty goes to 2015, and you'll figure it out. There's a Snopes article waiting for you. But every month, every week, almost, someone changes the date and posts it for that day, and it spreads like wildfire. I've seen someone post it twice, last year and this year, wrong both times, and it's like, you know what? Why don't you learn the date before you keep spreading this image? You know.
Well, I mean, I got to be honest with you, like something like that is because it's pop culture stuff, so it doesn't really bother me.
But at the same time, I mean, the same mindset holds true when you see like a quote misattributed to Obama, and they're like, "Oh, Obama said that. That's crazy." I go, my friends
think that's a little different because I think that's if you're screwing up something with some pop culture or The Walking Dead, I could give a shit. It doesn't when you are misattributing the stuff to individuals that may hurt their credibility illegitimately.
But I just think it's important to always fact check everything. I mean, why ever talk out of your ass unless you're at a bar with your friends? You know, if you're on a public forum, and it's just Facebook, but still, the point is, it's good to get into the mindset of, I want to check my facts. I want to make sure that I know what I'm talking about before I open my mouth. That's a good mindset to have. I mean, it's not something. I don't think that's something you should turn on or off on a whim. It's good to have that just ingrained into who you are.
You're 100% correct, but you have as much chance of that happening as I do men rising up and starting protesting over divorce laws. You know?
Well, yeah, not everyone's going to do that. I mean, are you saying you're not capable of going on Snopes before you share a Morgan Freeman thing? You could do that easily.
No, sure,
I could.
Let
me make sure this guy said this before I put this on here.
The guy that called me out didn't really want him to, you know? So it was more, you know, I got spanked and what have you. I don't know if you know this, but I just made a public apology to a hockey reporter. I don't know if you're aware of that.
No, what happened?
I unfairly attributed a tweet, which was actually a retweet, to him. And this is the guy that I've been fighting with for a year. So I wrote him personally, and I apologized.
This guy from Puck Daddy?
Yeah. I wrote him, the guy from Boston. I wrote him personally. I said, I'm going to make a video. I'm going to apologize to your friend. I'm going to apologize to your company publicly, and I'm going to apologize to you right now. I'm going to make a video, and I'm going to try to clear the whole thing up. And that does clear
the whole thing up, in my opinion. That's all you need to do, and that's what everyone should do every time they're called out, instead of being embarrassed and fighting. When people get embarrassed, they fight the wrong battles. It's terrible. You see it all the time where someone will be called out on something, and instead of putting their tail between their legs and saying, "You're right, I'm sorry. Hey, this guy didn't do this. Everyone, I'm going to clear your name." Instead, they'll be like, "Well, he would have done it." You know?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You know, it's like it didn't work. He wrote me you don't understand hyperbole. The nice non-apology. Let's listen. You want to listen to the thing right now? You tell me if it's sincere or not, because that really bugged me. That really that bugged me. And by the way, this thing came at the heels right now. It has to do with this. This came at the heels of the Nick Foley situation. So I thought morally obligated. After what I had done, it was a similar situation, and I saw how I remember thinking, like, you know, all Foley's got to do is back off on this situation with the Joe Cronin racial undertones about Rey Mysterio. You know, all he's got to do is back off and say, you know what, maybe I overreacted, and instead he just held to his guns. So this is
I have to be honest though. I'm glad he pushed the issue to the point where Cronin came on our show.
Me too. That was awesome. Well, you tell me if this sounds insincere. This is a clip of me showing the actual incident and then talking about it for you right now. So it has to do with one of your colleagues, and you said you'd answer it if you could. I don't expect to throw any if you got to throw any of your guys under the bus, but this is where I'm going to hit you. During the Ray Emery brawl with Brandon Holtby, one of your colleagues referred to Ryan Lampert referred to Ray Emery as a thug, and I think the Sherman situation applies exactly the same way as it does through Emery. Or no, I'm sorry, he didn't call him a thug. Let me get this right. He referred to saying that he was going to get his own gangster line of clothing. Apparently, I got this whole situation wrong. Hi, I'm Tommy C of the Shot from the Points Productions channel, and I'm here to make a correction and apology to Puck Daddy writer Ryan Lampert. If you look at your screen right now, you will see the tweet that I was referring to. Of course, right in front of it has tugs at collar. I assume that is to make it so it made Ryan uncomfortable with this person's tweet. Yes, the tweet was actually by Boston sports writer Kevin Paul DuPont. At no point in time was Ryan agreeing or condoning anything that Mr. DuPont was saying. In fact, he shows by saying tugs at collar that it made him uncomfortable. I unfairly attributed Kevin Paul DuPont's tweet to Ryan Lampert. At no time did I do this deliberately. I think at the end of the day, because of my rivalry with Ryan, and I do look for things to catch him off guard on, I simply saw what I wanted to see. That is unfair and in some cases completely unforgivable, especially when it comes to a topic like race. I can only say that I didn't deliberately do this, nor did I lie. I simply blew it. I made a mistake, and I got it wrong. I hope that this serves as some kind of indicator that I do feel bad for what I did, and I also want to apologize for Harris and Mooney. I did not mean at any time to come between your friendship with Ryan Lampert, nor would I want to. I'm actually pretty ashamed of the whole thing. Not a week earlier, one of my broadcast friends was accused of a racial incident when he used a jokingly Mexican accent. A reporter misrepresented what he actually was doing, and I was really outraged and really upset. The video is actually on the channel, and I really could understand when Ryan sent me a kind of a letter that was an email that was pretty much on fire, how he felt. I do feel ashamed for what I did, contrary to what the letter said, and that is why I'm making this video. I can't promise that I won't go after reporters when they make mistakes. And one of the conversations that Harrison had, that sometimes your opinions do change. Sometimes you put out so much content that you don't remember, and it does come off as hypocritical. But the one thing that I said to Harrison in our interview is, like, how come more reporters don't apologize? I'm not a reporter, nor am I bound to any kind of journalistic code, but I am bound to a moral code, my own personal moral code, which I broke. And again, I hope this goes to some lengths to kind of fix the situation. I don't expect Ryan to become my fan. I just would hope that he would look at what I had done as a mistake rather than something evil, rather than deliberately lying or trying to race bait. Again, I'd like to apologize to all of Puck Daddy, Ryan Lampert, and Harrison Mooney for making this terrible mistake. Hopefully in the future I'll be smarter than this and won't do anything like it. This is a very sincere apology. I feel awful about what happened, and I will do my best to make sure it doesn't happen again. So, am I being a big phony?
That was 100% sincere. And not only that, but in media, you're normally taught, stand by your convictions, stick to what you say. If you misspeak, then roll with it, and that will get you credibility. That is what you're taught. But the problem is, if you're watching the news one day and they run a story, and obviously, both, whatever news you watch, there's some type of agenda in most stories that you see.
I have one.
And, right, yeah, everyone has their agenda, or else if we didn't have agendas, we wouldn't want to be reaching mass audiences with our opinions. Yeah, sure. But like you said, you didn't have a journalistic code, and you still made that apology. So what if the journalists with the actual code, every now and then, when they got something wrong or exaggerated, came on and said, hey, we'd like to redact what we said or revise what we said. This actually was a mistake that we made, and this person didn't say this, or this person didn't do this, or whatever the case may be, and we would like to apologize. That, in my opinion, gets you more credibility when you can admit you're wrong, and then you're watching the show thinking, oh, okay, well, I might watch something, and I might get misinformed, like, as if that never happens when you watch anything ever. But at least this place is going to give me the real scoop when all of the smoke clears, like that's, in my opinion, that will get you more credibility in the long run. Right off the bat, maybe not, but it shows integrity. And I think that integrity goes further than people assume it does in media.
Yeah, maybe. The guy completely rejected it. He told me not to apology, and what have you.
That's bullshit. He's just
what I'm doing now?
Because that was an actual apology, and it was a professional apology.
You know what I'm doing with this jackass now? I'm going right, because our war with him had ended last summer. I am going right back to what I'm doing, with this guy. I have the apology. I'm not going to delete it. I don't even. It might seem like I'm taking it back, but look who I'm taking it back from. Somebody like this. And here's another thing that he did. When Gregory Campbell blocked a shot, he was blocked a shot and broke his ankle and then finished his shift last year during a hockey game. He railed against how stupid Campbell was and how stupid hockey fans and players were with this 6-6-6 hockey culture. And then during the Brandon Holtby Ball, which was actually something we just mentioned, he suggested that Holtby should have hit Ray Emery with a two-hander. So he didn't apologize for that, because how hypocritical is that to be against one form of hockey violence and not another? And actually, the one that he was for was potentially life-threatening rather than just a typical hockey goalie fight. So I'm right back in the mix with this thing. I've yet to cut the video. I offer anybody that knew this guy growing up, if this is the kind of person he is, and like I said, I don't take back the apology. Anybody that did what I did should do exactly what I did and just go back. Yes. Not just for credibility's sake, because I have no credibility. I'm in the beer leagues of the hockey broadcasting. It doesn't matter anyway. It affects him more than it affects me at the end of the day. So here's what I'm going to do. If you know this guy growing up, if you know who he was, if he owes you money, if he stiffed you and you're a hardworking prostitute, you call me. I will do everything to put you on the air. He obviously chose the path of to continue to antagonize the situation that he did. He could have said nothing. And I was like, look, he's just too angry to talk to me. And I should be embarrassed. And then anytime I go after him after that, it makes me look just completely ridiculous. So, and then he also said that I'm an obsessed and that I'm a stalker. Okay, this guy has retweeted my tweets, answers my emails, tried to publicly embarrass me with something goof I did on him that, by the way, backfired. I got tons of Twitter followers and subs after it. So he chose to antagonize because he keeps it going, so I'm going to keep it going. If you know Ryan Lampert, you talk to me. I'll put you on the air.
That's the thing. I mean, he's keeping it going because, I mean, you might think you're just in the beer leagues, but when it comes down to it,
it hurts.
Any publicity is good publicity. You know, if you get him one follower on Twitter, it's worth him responding to you.
Really?
And if he responds to you and says everything's fine, everything's peachy, then no one's going to be interested in you guys anymore. Well, not you guys anymore, but you guys as rivals. They're not going to be interested in the rivalry anymore because the rivalry will cease to exist. But if he says, I don't accept your apology, that's bullshit, I don't believe it, all of a sudden people viewing this argument, which there definitely are going to say, ooh, where's this going? Yeah. And how is Tommy going to respond? Which you just gave it to him.
But he's not retweet. He used to retweet my stuff. But what happened was I got more support than I did get negative comments. And then he retweeted some of Joe's stuff because Joe went after him and they actually submitted to an interview after that, which went quite well, by the way.
I did listen to that interview.
Yeah. I mean, I look, you can. I always make the argument that it was a dead heat. One of the things I'm arguing against gay marriage, and I'm for it, just to play devil's advocate, because I don't think it's right to throw people against the dogs that don't necessarily believe in it or don't want to talk about it. That was really much, but it was almost an impossible argument for me to win. But when I asked him, when he is jealous about guys like Gregory Campbell and his situation, his reaction, he showed who he was. He got really uncomfortable and what have you. So I think I won the second. So I think it was a dead heat tie. And I do believe I also did something with Harrison Mooney lately, and he retweeted it, and he wrote him. It was really great. He goes, I know who that is before I even click on it. So he knows who I am. I'm getting on his nerves. He doesn't want to make me famous because he would still continue to retweet the thing. Now he just sends me private emails that I can't really retweet or anything like that, so he can't get an immediate reaction. Because, of course, I can't retweet an entire email. But, yeah, so we're going to keep it going. Screw it. I mean, I'm not going to talk about him every show.
Well, he knows if he accepts your apology, then, I mean, even if he's not still retweeting you and not still bumping you up, if he accepts your apology, you're going to talk about him less. If he doesn't accept your apology and you know that your apology is genuine, it's going to piss you off, and his name's going to come out of your mouth again.
Yeah, exactly. And it just did. You proved. Yeah. Sure. So what do I look? I have the news. Somebody else said to me too. This is a guy that doesn't believe in a hockey code. He thinks it's all bullshit and what have you. So he basically doesn't believe in codes in general. So what you did is you misattributed a quote to a guy with no honor. Why do you even care? And I said, well, first of all, it's my personal thing, and that the racial stuff is just where I draw the line. I hate that, so I don't want to be a part of that. I want to separate myself from that, and this is what everybody should do if they make the mistake that I did, including Nick Foley. But thank God he didn't, of course. But at the end of the day, I think that guy was onto something. Why should I even be entertaining? Not an apology, but some sort of like I shouldn't be fucking getting on my hands and knees for a guy that has no honor. So bring it. Let's do it. It's on. You know, well, why not? Let's fight again. I got nothing to lose.
Round 3.
I got nothing to lose. You know. Hey, thanks for joining me, by the way.
No problem.
Oh, it was fun. It was fun. I think we talked a lot about stuff. I thought we were gonna get in an argument though. I was a little disappointed about that.
It'll be good.
No, it's fun though. It's fun. But I wouldn't want you to do it. I wouldn't want you to do it unless it was real though. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There'll be something.
It's
Trust
phony.
me.
It's phony. I tried to do that in one of my shows where I got mad at a player that I really wasn't mad at. It sucked. Totally dumb. Just trying to generate controversy. Because that's what I do here. What are you doing? You going to bed yet?
Yeah, probably in the hour.
What time is it over there?
5 a.m.
It's 5 a.m. Oh, Jesus. You're not working today, I guess, huh?
No.
You got the day off. Congratulations on your future Bambino, your future guitar player, and give your best to give my best to your wife.
I will.
Well, I don't know too much about her. I know a little bit about Leah, but I don't know too much about her. Is she a happy girl?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hey, give your best to everybody in Vegas and what have you. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to my dumb special on bitching and moaning and broadcasting because I can. It's the Connery Pirates because I play them every time. And they like tacos and beef when they eat. See ya!
Next to him, be sweet, but I don't need the sweetest if I don't